All right, welcome back, guys. Welcome back to the podcast with no name yet. Today we have a beautiful guest with us. Today we have the great Adam Zomparelli. He's an author, personal trainer, ex-mercenary, you name it, he's done it.
Yeah.
Before we get started, before anyone gets mad, doesn't matter. We gotta accept reality. This is what peak human physical physique looks like. All right, so you can get mad if you want to. But he is the specimen whose genes we must save. So, Adam, tell us a little bit about yourself. Look at that fucking arm.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know. He
No.
doesn't even have to say shit.
Yeah, 15 years later, sure. It all comes down together.
Don't sell yourself short, man. Don't sell you.
Yeah.
That's hard work.
Yeah, it is hard work actually. It takes a while. Let's see. Been training for about 15 years. Have about 5 years of schooling under my belt. Did athletic therapy. Did your basic 2-year diploma. Went to university. Took a couple semesters of nutrition, so about 1 year. Took 1 year of psychology to help improve that as well. Trained in a gym setting for up to about 7 years, and then started my own business, which now I have obviously in Barrie, that I've been running for over a year now, and that's actually been doing pretty well. And where I just basically transform people to the peak of their performance, pretty much. Yeah.
So he turns you fat blobs and
Yeah.
molds you with his hands and sculpts you into Greek statues. That's
Not
his
even just-
job.
It's an all around thing, right? So it's not even just like that, but it's also
It's literally that.
better flexibility,
Lumps of clay
strength
into fucking hard stone.
Yeah, but I show you how to do it because it's all within you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, but that's great, man. One thing today, what we're gonna do with we're gonna go with Adam about some of the myths and facts and try to get some things straightened out, debunk some things about exercise, nutrition. Now I know you have a big passion about this, so I'm gonna ask right off the bat, why is it potentially dangerous? Because I know this kind of hits you personally. Why is it bad and potentially dangerous to have so much misinformation like we have online, where you have these clickbait accounts and these guys trying to sell you basically like these snake oil salesmen trying to sell you a quick fix? Why is that so bad, and why does that hit you so personally?
So the first reason why it's so bad is because it gives people a false narrative that they're going to get their goals within a certain time frame and within a certain amount of work, when it actually takes a lot longer than what they're being told for the most part. And then actually the reason why it bothers me so much is because I actually know what it takes in order to basically take yourself from 145 pounds of like being a wet noodle, in my experience, and then building yourself up to about, what's that?
He never was. He never was.
No, it was lowest like 145 pounds, and then going up to maximum 215. Now I sit at around 185, but the amount of time it takes to actually, build muscle and how to properly exercise and how to properly execute the techniques and how to build tempo and learning about like proper nutrition intake and all that, it takes time, right? Now, people will have different rhythms and different will hit their goals at different peaks, right? Because everybody comes from a different walk of life. Yeah, everybody reacts to things differently, right? But the thing is with the industry is there's a lot of good in it, but there's a lot of fake shit out there where people try and just try and either make a quick dollar or try and sell their package up front to you and make it look like it's like this bread and butter of everything you ever need. And then when you actually get to it, it's not everything that you thought it was going to be. And there's a lot of it in there.
Yeah, so you're saying like people basically look for the easy way out. They think there's some shortcut to get to get fit or to lose weight or to put on muscle or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I understand. I understand because for years I'd work out, but the nutrition part was lacking. Now that I have a better understanding, thanks to you, like you really see what it takes, what it really takes. Like a lot of sacrifice, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of dedication and a lot of sacrifice. And everybody thinks that it's like linear. Like if you do this, or if you eat this many calories, or I work out this time, like
Mm.
I should get these results. And
Yeah.
like sometimes that's true, but it's not always the case. It's
Yeah.
not always just a linear way towards your
Mm.
goal. You're gonna hit like you got to think of it as like a graph, right? You're trajecting upwards, and
Yeah.
you're gonna go up and down and up and down and up and down. But eventually, if you stick to it and you stay consistent and
Hmm.
you get progressive overload, you will get there.
Like, yeah, yeah, no, I agree, man, and I know exactly what it takes. To be honest, around when I was there with you guys, around your
Mm,
wedding time, man, take a guess how much I weighed at the time. So when I got
I'm
back
gonna,
here, I've
yeah,
been basically just walking every day at like 5 a.m.
yeah,
Going to the gym, I'm trying twice a day. Sometimes
hmm,
you gotta rest maybe once a day, or sometimes like I'm pooped. But for the most part, like it's just almost every day, if not every day, just consistently doing it because I see the hard work. But when I was there,
hmm,
it was how it was. The times were tough. Gyms were locking down, so you couldn't really like go to a gym or anything. So I just got lazy,
hmm,
and mentally I wasn't in the right state of
yeah.
mind to work out, even at home or anything. So I kind of got really lazy. So just ballpark how much I weighed around that time.
220 higher or 230 more,
You want me to tell you?
240.
You want me to tell
Yeah,
you?
go.
I
Yeah,
weighed at John's house. You won't believe me.
I
Two
won't
ninety
actually.
seven.
Fuck off.
297.
No,
I swear to God, ask John, man.
you're
290,
297.
297, man. That's what I weighed when I was there.
Dude, you didn't look 297.
I,
I
I
thought
didn't.
you were like maybe 230 max.
No,
Like,
man. I was at his house for a couple days and then just measured. I'm like, is this real? Like, is this accurate? And I'm like, man, it is. Then when I came
mm,
here and I went to go do a physical for something about a month or so ago, and I dropped
hmm,
down to almost 260 something, and then I haven't weighed since then, but I basically fit back into everything else. So and that's what it was. It wasn't any shortcut. It wasn't just like I'll go to the gym here and there. It was literally
yeah,
every fucking day. And right now, man, I really, it's easier here to get fast food. I've been dying to get fast food. I've only gone in and out like once. Since then, just
yeah,
oatmeal and this, and your words keep ringing in the head. So it feels great.
yeah.
It feels
Calorie
great.
deficit. That's what it comes down to with
Yeah,
weight
man.
loss. Calorie
Hmm.
deficit, and there's no. It doesn't matter. That's another thing. A lot of people think it's a certain diet they do, or they think that they
Hmm.
need to do keto, or if they go on the carnivore diet or plant. It doesn't matter what you do,
Yeah.
as long as you're in a calorie deficit, you'll lose weight. That's
So
the basic it comes down to.
so let's say I mean yeah, obviously nutrition's important, but let's say like at the end of the day,
That's different though. Nutrition and weight loss don't always coincide with one another,
of
right?
course.
Yeah, some
So
they do overlap, but not always.
yeah. So let's say if someone needs to hit, let's say 1800 calories a day is their goal. Let's just say.
Hmm.
So I mean, obviously, like you said, nutrition doesn't always coincide, but you don't always have to just be eating like cut out everything completely. You just got to manage
No.
your calories basically.
Yeah.
So you could be
Yeah.
eating, let's say, I mean nothing terribly, but let's say a burger, like a grilled
Yeah.
barbecue. But you eat like two of those a day, breakfast, lunch, maybe dinner. They add up to like let's say 1650, seventeen
Hmm.
hundred. You're lower than your goal, so that's good, right?
You're still gonna lose weight if you do that, right?
Okay.
So just as like, because I always get this asked by people too. They're like, "Well, what if I eat all kinds of shit food, or if
Mm-hmm.
I eat chips or just sugary stuff?" I'm like, "Well, I wouldn't suggest you do that because you'll probably get some sort of an inflammation issue
Mm-hmm.
within the lining of your stomach or your intestine, or you'll get some intestinal issues,
Yeah.
and you'll build up a lot of gas in there. Your body might react like that." But would you lose weight? Yeah, you would. You would still
Mm-hmm.
lose weight because you're in a caloric deficit, and that's how our bodies run off of losing weight or building up muscle or building up weight, right?
Mm-hmm.
They take the macronutrients, micronutrients, yes, they take that too, but just for the fact of weight loss, they take macronutrients, they store it within the body, they use them up they take everything within the chains of each macronutrient, they use it within the body, they store it, all of them store eventually as fat once they get used up. And then regardless of that, if you're still within your caloric range or you're below it, you will still lose the weight nonetheless, right? So the idea here is basically, I think people need to stop looking at certain foods as like bad, right? Like if you have a McDonald's burger, it's not necessarily bad. You have your protein in there, you have your carbs, you have some fats, you know, you have your trans fats, you're going to have definitely some saturated fats. You're going to have your monosaccharide, disaccharide carbs in there. You'll have polysaccharides in there as well. You'll have your, different types of proteins.
See? Those are words I guarantee you guys haven't heard before. Learn something. Listen and learn something.
You don't even need to know that stuff. They're just different carb chains. But the bottom line is, stuff that you're ingesting. It's just macronutrients that is in every food, right?
Yeah.
You take a healthier meal. You take something like a vegetable soup. Same macronutrients and micronutrients that you're going to get out of that McDonald's burger. It's easier to ingest and get higher caloric intake off that McDonald's burger because it's higher in calories and it's more dense, right?
Yeah.
So
it's harder to break down for your body, right?
Not necessarily harder. So that itself comes down to what you're eating. So you have your protein and your carbs, which basically your body breaks down easier between the two. And then your body takes in fat, right? Whatever fatty chain it takes. Certain ones break down a bit easier, but nonetheless, because it is more dense, it's more thicker, it takes a bit more power for the body to break down. It'll take a bit more time. But even if you have fatty, like just pure fat, just as an example, again, not suggesting you do that, but you have just pure fat and you're still under your calories, you're going to lose weight. It's going to happen, right? Because you're dropping below the amount of calories that you need to withstand to sustain your weight that you're at right now. So therefore you're going to drop weight and you're going to lose weight and body fat.
Okay. So now I've been looking a lot into this as well. So true or false, it's not about losing weight, it's about losing fat and keeping it off. That's what most people's goals is, right?
Yeah, so the thing is, if you're looking, so you can basically stay around the same weight, right? And switch around your macronutrients and drop a body fat, right? But you're going to fluctuate. It's going to happen. But at the end of the day, if you're going from like 200 pounds to 180 pounds, you're going to have to drop weight. If you're looking to basically keep lean tissue and build up muscle and stay around 200 pounds but break down body fat, it's going to take longer, right? Yeah. You're going to have to switch the type of macronutrients around that you're eating. You might have to do like 40% carbs, 40% protein, 20% fat, and then work on actually building the muscle through proper body mechanics of working out and engaging the muscle properly, going through concentric and eccentric motions a lot slower, which is lengthening and shortening the muscles, and basically really putting a lot of pressure on the muscle as you're working it out, right?
Okay.
But in terms of weight loss, it's just a caloric deficit.
Okay. So bottom line is make sure you're burning off more than you're consuming.
That's pretty much what it comes down to, yeah. Okay. And first and foremost, it's going to come to your eating, right?
Yeah.
Like when I get a client, I've had clients, not personally right now, but I've had clients in the past where they eat healthy, they think they're eating healthy, and they are to a degree, but it's still high calorie, right?
Yeah.
When you eat things like walnuts or a lot of almonds or honey, things like of that nature, avocado, those are healthy for you, so to speak. But when you learn that because they're high calorie and you're still gaining weight because of how much of that you're having, is it really healthy? Is it really healthy at that point? You know what I mean?
Like I remember
the nutrients you're getting are healthy, but because you're putting on more weight, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no. Go ahead.
Because you're putting on more weight, is it really healthy in the long run? It's just, in terms, it's like, well, no, not really at that point, because yes, you're getting the micronutrients from whatever you're eating, but you're still putting on fat. And if you increase your fat percentage, your HDL cholesterol goes up, you have harder time breathing, it's harder for your heart to work, your valves aren't operating as good around your heart, it's harder for your blood to oxygenate the oxygen within there. So in turn, you're actually making it worse for yourself, right?
So they're overdoing it on a good thing.
In like a different aspect, you can look at it that way. Yes. Yeah.
Again, Yeah, no, sorry. But
Oh no,
I
and
mean,
I was
even
just
me
gonna
too. I
say,
used to do that because in our family we always ate like a bunch of like
yeah,
nuts. So I used to like same thing, just eat almonds. But
hmm
like a little
yeah,
handful of almonds, is a lot of calories, and
it
you,
is.
you don't notice because you're just
Yeah,
basically eating them like chips, and I'm
yeah,
like, what the fuck?
yeah,
Like I switched from chips to this, but it's like, oh shit, I'm eating more calories
yeah.
than a bag of chips, basically.
It comes down to basically the client just not knowing what it is, and then when I go over their eating with them, I'll say, well, this is the reason why you're having so much, and I literally break down everything that they're eating, roughly how many calories they're eating, because even when you calculate, you should be actually calculating by grams. It's a lot more accurate, right? But if you even calculate by calories, you can still get a good idea of how much they're eating.
Okay.
And when I show them basically where it's coming from, and they start to see that it was coming from these certain foods, even though they were healthy, it surprises them because they didn't know, right? Because they just thought healthy meant losing weight, but it doesn't always go over and coincide. It overlaps, so it doesn't always meet end to end with each other.
Yeah, like especially now when we're starting to see a lot in athletics where guys like Tyson Fury, if you guys remember Butterbean, like these guys did not have the bodies that you would think, but these
Yeah.
guys were elite athletes, and Tyson Fury is an elite athlete. What was his name? Who's the heavyweight UFC champ at the time? What was his name? That black dude
Francis
from,
Ngannou?
No, that guy. That guy looks like a monster. But
Yeah, he's a truck.
How the fuck's his name? He's one of the announcers now. I forgot his name.
Oh, oh my God. He fought John Jones. You can never beat John Jones.
No. Anyways,
I know what you're talking.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
He got into like MMA when he was like 38 or something, and he had like, he didn't look like he was in the greatest shape, but he dominated for a while.
Yeah.
So sometimes even our mutual friends, his jiu-jitsu coach. I mean, if you look at this guy looked like a cue ball, but like,
yeah,
like dude, he could outrun you, outskip you, outpush up you, and this guy weighed for sure over 300 pounds. But man, was he in shape. So sometimes, yeah, it's not just the body shape, but like you were saying before, it depends on how you're taking care of your body. Outward appearance doesn't necessarily mean like healthy,
No, it does that like it doesn't always go into that too. And then there's the argument of like, well, there's people who aren't ripped or they're not aesthetically good looking, or they have higher body fat percentage, but like they're still athletes to some degree and they do well. And it's just like, well, yeah, you can still perform and basically have a pretty decent athletic career if you're not in shape, because like there's different genetic capabilities of everybody. There can be an argument said though that would they perform better if they were better in shape? Maybe I would think they would.
Probably,
But it doesn't take away from what they've accomplished or what they are. But yeah, just on
I think that probably coincides with what they're doing. Like if someone's a swimmer, of course, but if someone's like a wrestler, maybe having that additional natural belly fat.
No, for sure.
That
Yeah,
could be
no,
an advantage.
100%.
Yeah.
It's especially when it comes to like different weight classes, right? You guys have guys that are in heavyweight, light heavyweight, they're generally heavier. They're going to, not always, right? Because again, it comes down to certain people's genetics, performance, what they've eaten, what they've done, like how they work out. There's a lot of different factors, but they tend to have higher body fat percentages on them too, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't always mean like in terms of like back to what we were saying about weight loss, it doesn't always mean healthier food choices doesn't always necessarily mean weight loss, right?
I mean, shit, just look at animals sometimes. Sometimes you'll see big fat ass animals and you ain't outrunning a bear. You're not outswimming a hippopotamus, but
but that's a different story because that's for like survival and whatnot. They're purposely going to put on weight.
But I mean, you can kind of see it in nature. Sometimes, man, I've seen fat house cats with stomachs, and all of a sudden they have a mouse in their jaws, and it's like, well, you still got it, So
yeah. Peak performance. It depends on like basically like it can coincide with it, but yes and no, it depends.
Okay. All right, so this I've actually heard a lot, and I don't know, man.
What?
So I've heard some people say that there's such a thing as too much protein. So you can have too
So,
much protein.
so when they say you can have too much protein, what does that like? What does that mean? Like, is there
So
an effect that comes with it?
so basically, they're saying like your body can only handle a certain amount, and so if
Yeah.
you're drinking like 7, 8 protein shakes in a day, it's putting a
Mhm.
lot of strain on your liver, or it causes cholesterol or all these
No.
types of shit.
So that's all.
So
Yeah, it's all a myth. So basically, the whole thing about protein, if you have too much of it, it'll cause a lot of damage to your kidney. That's not true at all. Or it can cause a lot of damage to your intestines or liver, any of that. The most you'd probably get from it is like an upset stomach or some irritation.
diarrhea.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, but even then, you'd have to have a lot of protein. Your body already produces it itself, right? You just need more. The more muscle that you put on your body that you basically produce after like every 2 to 3 months of you working out, if you're doing it properly, to sustain and grow the muscle, right? So that's why we take more protein. And generally, per body pound per person, a safe amount to take is anywhere between 0.5 grams to 2 grams. The reason why it's that range is just because not every single person, genetically speaking, is going to absorb or is going to need 1 gram or is going to need 2 grams or 0.5. Everybody's body is going to need a certain amount. You don't know what that is. So as a safe range, you take 0.5 to 2 grams per body weight that you have, right? Now, anything after that, generally speaking, your body will excrete it. It's not going to use it, right?
So,
It'll store more of it as fat, basically. It's going to store it in your body as fat, and then it's just going to, So protein, carbs, and fat, it all gets stored as fat in your body after. That's how it works, right? That's what I was trying to say before when it comes to your calories. Everything gets stored as fat nonetheless. It doesn't matter what it is. Your body uses the chains within the macronutrient itself, and then it stores it as fat, right? And then if you are over your calories and you keep doing it day after day, week after week, month after month, right, you put on weight. The more that you do it, the faster you put on weight, right? And it's no different with protein. The thing is with protein, because it's 4 grams per pound, you basically break it down a lot faster. Same thing with carbs, right? 4 grams per calorie.
So basically goes back to the calorie intake thing.
Pretty much, yes. And then your body will just discrete whatever it needs, right? And that's different for you or me. So you're a bigger guy than me. How much do you weigh right now?
I don't know. My stupid ass gym doesn't have a scale for some reason. So.
No, that's actually pretty bad. It doesn't have a scale at all.
Yeah, I know. It's supposed to be the judgment. We're not gonna say the name. It's supposed to be the judgment free.
Okay.
Zone.
All right, let's say you're 250, right? Generally speaking, most of the time, somebody, not always, but somebody who worked out, right? Again, genetics, if you were born with more muscle on you, not always, but let's just say for the sake of the argument, they have more muscle on them, right? So you're going to need more than I will. Even though I'm about 185 right now, but I got a high amount of muscle on me. Even though I've been working out basically more consistent and longer.
Peak physical human specimen.
There's no such thing, and there's always a higher level.
You're looking at him. That's the guy.
Yeah, but let's say you're going to need more than me nonetheless to sustain what you have, right?
Yeah.
So, and then
it makes sense. Just smaller people, smaller things require less. Bigger things, whatever, just require more.
In a general consensus, yes, right? There's always details and whatnot in between that and with different things, but for the most part, yes. But bottom line, your body needs that to sustain muscle growth. If you're consistently working out and creating progressive overload and you're working out properly and you're seeing results in growing your muscle every 2 to 3 months or so, you're probably going to have to increase that by about 50 to 100 calories worth of protein, roughly. That's not a concrete estimate, right? It depends on the person.
Yeah.
So the reason why you do that is because you need to sustain that new added muscle growth with protein to make sure it doesn't have a catabolic breakdown. What that means is if you don't sustain it with more calories, mainly protein and also carbs, because carbs have a sparring effect, it will break down over time. All right. And then that's how you consistently grow. But to the bottom, to what you were saying before, yeah, it's a myth. You can have too much protein, but it's not detrimental to your health. You'll be fine. Like you'll be okay.
Can you use a protein shake as a meal replacement?
You can. So that comes down to what the person's eating,
Okay,
right? So it's
sorry, we're gonna have to do this. We're gonna do this after 10 minutes. We're gonna have to do another Zoom meeting, so we're just gonna keep it going.
Okay.
I just got the stupid notification, so if it ends, I'll just re-invite you to a new Zoom meeting.
Okay.
Just so everyone knows, we're gonna edit this part.
Yeah, no, you just edit it out.
I'm terrible at editing, so I don't know. It might just
Are you? It's so easy.
I don't know. We'll see. I just get lazy with editing.
It's so easy, but sorry, what did you ask again?
The meal replacement. Can you use protein as a meal replacement?
Yeah, you can. I would still add a few other things in there, but again, you could just have the protein for that meal replacement. Then it comes down to like, well, how many meal replacements you're talking about? What's their dietary regimen? How consistent is it? Like, there's multiple factors in there.
Yeah.
But for again, a just general answer, you can do that. What I would do is, have a scoop of protein, throw some fruit in there, and you can even add some people, it's 50-50 on if they like it or not, but you can throw some oatmeal in there and just blend it up as well. I do that. I like it. It doesn't bother me.
I haven't tried that. I actually I love the taste of oatmeal.
Yeah, honestly, for me, I like it, to be honest.
Too.
Like, I blend it up. I just
haven't tried it like that.
No, it's not too bad. And if you get, so I basically buy the low-calorie Ocean Spray juice. It's 10 calories per cup. It's not a lot at all. It's very low.
That's actually
and then
not
I pour
bad.
that. No, it's pretty low. And then so I pour a cup to 2 cups worth in there, and I give it more flavor. Mix it with the protein and everything else. It tastes great, right? So,
Okay.
but yeah.
All right. Another thing is, so I've heard a lot of negativity around dairy. So people have the same kind of mentality with dairy as they do with like carbs. They think it's like the worst of the worst. You know what I mean? So people will tell you, stay away from milk, stay away from eggs, stay away from this. So tell me a little bit about dairy and how it like works for you. Like, is it bad? Is it good? Like, should you drink milk?
So here's the thing, the dairy in the States and then in Canada is actually different because of the FDA and what they allow to be put in the milk and whatnot. So I can't speak for the dairy in the States, but what I've read and what I've been told is that it's got a lot more ingredients and hormones in there that cause some issues. Even to a degree, the same can be said for the dairy that we have here as well, right? But when it comes to essentially just having dairy in general, it's part of your food group. There's like, I'm not going to tell people that it's okay to go have it because, to be honest, it comes down to the individual and what they like, if they're lactose intolerant, if it bothers them. Like me personally, I don't have dairy too often because it actually does bother my stomach, right?
Okay.
And I find that's one of the things that people do find a lot more, that it actually bothers them. But as for the actual things that they put in there, I can't comment it on 100% because I'm actually not too sure. But as for what damage itself, like dairy in its own right, can do to your body, it's fine. It's not going to cause any major problems for you. But again,
like I like to enjoy a glass of milk every now and again. I used to have a glass every day. Now I add a bit to like my coffee, but every now and again I'll have like a glass, and like I cook more with butter rather than oils now. Even though it's not, I don't have a cow, so I don't get it straight from the source. But I try to use alternates like you suggested. So
yeah, I
mean, main thing is I took your advice and used less of everything basically, and I find that like even that too, just when I got back and I just got back to working out, and I was mainly like 95% just everything was oatmeal. It was the cleanest my system ever been, but
probably, yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was basically like a diagram showing the body like in and out. But but even then, with a bit of dairy, it takes a bit more time to digest. But I find I find it's okay. So I mean,
So
personally,
that's what I was gonna say next. Like if your dietary regimen already is fine and you have a glass here and there, it's fine and it doesn't bother you. Why, I wouldn't. Why cut it out? You know what I mean?
yeah.
If you're somebody who really likes to look into what they add into certain foods and hormones that they use and what it can do to you over a long term and whatnot, and you're very, very strict on that, okay, then that's fine. I can see why you'd want to stay away from it. But then I would also stay away from 80% of the foods in the grocery aisles and in the superstores and whatnot, because they all have additives in them one way or another. Like the fruits and the vegetables that you see in your grocery stores, they put additives and certain hormones in there to allow them to last longer, to be able to be transported and even get to the grocery stores and have a longer shelf life so that they can be bought and sold, right? Because those things aren't, and some of them even grow bigger to what they actually are. They put steroids in them. They're not supposed to be that big.
Yeah, like
now, is
when
that
you see bananas like the size of your forearm, like something.
Yeah, like bananas, tomatoes, especially like celery, like they're a lot bigger than what they should be. Even some blueberries, like the smaller ones, they're massive, right?
Yeah,
they're
like
huge
because
they add
blueberries like on a bush.
They're tiny,
like this big, yeah. And then you go and
they're very feral looking. They're different, right? Because they're organic, so to speak. And even that word's been thrown around a lot lately. But like for the most part, you can't really get away from it. So I wouldn't fret over that too much at the same time. Now, can some of this stuff over time maybe accumulate and cause certain problems within your body? They're still doing a lot of studies on that, and it's hard to say. It's not 100% concrete. So my whole thing is just do it in moderation, enjoy it, don't overdo it. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, just like now, it's starting to find that. So I recently learned 50% of males in the United States were infertile, and not permanently, but like they 50% of males in the U.S. were infertile, and it was mainly because of microplastics. And microplastics like found everywhere, and also the damage that breakfast cereal food coloring has caused. Like these are like everyday items that we always grew up on. We grew up on all these fucking fruity, sugary cereals and shit, and then now we're finding out like, hey, did you know a lot of the things, a lot of candies that we grew up on, like the food coloring alone is basically like poisonous to you. I'm pretty sure a lot of people remember the experiment where you put a nail in a glass of Coke,
can of Coke,
and then come back a week later and try and find the nail. So I mean, you're basically like ingesting poison, and they sell it to you. So it's hard to get away from it all.
That's what I mean. Like it's not, and these are like some of these studies are like have to be generational, because these aren't things you're gonna see basically come out of studies until years later, because the side effects might not happen until generations down the line, which is why I say like just have it in moderation. Enjoy yourself, but don't overdo it.
But are not limited to infertility, AIDS, depression, fucking bad view of life, having a divorce, losing your kids, breaking your phone,
losing your balls. It's like
right.
Oh, by the way, there's all those commercials with all those side effects, but
they always show like the happiest fucking people. It's like, well, I talked to my doctor about it, and now I'm not. I've ever been. Side effects include your eyeballs melting.
They're like running through the field and enjoying with their family and everything, and then all that's playing.
It's like, but then you know what I always picture in those commercials? Like you see that one happy family, and then in the background you see like waves of people's bodies being carted off because of the side effects. Like, well, I guess they all had thoughts of suicide.
Yeah, I guess it didn't work out too well then.
All right. It's like, well, you should have talked to your doctor before you took it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just in moderation is the best thing right now, because unless you're getting it from the ground completely and always all the time, good luck. Are some things still better to eat than others? Of course, right? There's always going to be like some sort of a graph that you can look at that'll indicate maybe what's better, but I wouldn't overthink it too much at the same time. If you want to completely cut something out,
Yeah.
go for it. That's completely up to the individual. They feel like it's not bettering them or their health.
Like when you were telling me, like I mentioned earlier about when I told you most of what I was eating when I got back here was oatmeal, and then you're like, well, you can
Yeah,
have other shit, but I just wanted to
yeah.
see, like, you know, how it was for me, and then, you
Hmm.
know, maybe slowly like start to see. This is what happens when you have trial versions.
Yeah. It's the free version for you.
This is why
An
when
hour,
you're cheap, this is what happens.
an hour is what's it called? No, it gives you what, 45 minutes free?
I think. Whatever. Then you just fucking go into another meeting. That's all right.
Yeah.
What the hell? Where were we at? Oh yeah. So mainly
Oatmeal.
what I was eating was like 99% oatmeal, and then
Yeah.
I just wanted to see how that would, you know, compared to just being, like I said, out there and every day basically not eating like crap, but like just not counting calories on top of not exercising or barely exercising, and then, you know, just seeing how basically flipping night and day, like, you know, the effect that it would have on me. And then
Hmm.
now, like, you know, after learning more from you, I now count my calories, or I try and, like, you know, see what I used to eat and then basically like cut that in half, and then how hungry I would get, how many times a day, yada yada yada. And now I'm slowly, you know, gauging more what's working
Hmm.
for me.
You're more in tune with it now.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean I find that's like even that too, and then even you know, like you said, try and do as best you can. But even me too. Most of everything I'm buying is coming from the grocery store. Sometimes like
Yeah.
some guys around here, you know, they got fresh farm eggs or milk, and I'll go pick up from here and there. But for
Hmm.
the most part, like 99% now of what I eat is coming from grocery stores. So you know, you do what you
You
can.
can't get away from it.
Yeah,
It's just the. I mean, for us, anyways. Maybe it's some people in other parts of the world. It's different, right?
yeah,
Of the way that our society has been structured and rooted here, that's
mm,
just the way it goes.
yeah,
And
exactly.
you know, that's what we have to do.
You know, I remember a buddy of mine one day was we were talking about he's like, man, I wish we can go back to like the old days of, like, you know, everyone had their own land and shit. I'm like, dude, I'm like, just imagine 1 year you have like a family to look out for, and
Hmm.
you're hoping to God that there's not a drought that summer so that you can harvest your crops just so you can survive in the winter. I'm like, be
Just so you
glad.
can eat.
Be glad
Yeah.
you have a fucking grocery store. Be glad you can tell your wife, fuck, man, pasta again, and then
Yeah.
storm out. Promise your kids you're not gonna leave for cigarettes and never come back. Like, just be glad of the fact that you can go to McDonald's, grab a burger, and come back. Okay, that's a
It's
privilege that a lot of
it's
people
true
neglect.
though.
So
It's
you
true because
better
I
bow
remember.
down and kiss McDonald's ass for all the
It's
fucking
true because like
McNuggets they provided.
I remember when I went to Mexico a few years back, and we went to go eat with like the people in the village and whatnot on top of the mountain. And then one of the ladies was telling me, she's like, they have to deal with basically if they have a drought, they have to deal with animals eating their crops. They have to deal with certain bugs eating the roots,
Mm.
and then on top of that, if all that doesn't do anything, they had to deal with other villagers like within the area stealing from them as well.
Yeah,
And these were
man. I
like
mean,
literally just village people. And if they didn't have it, if they didn't have that food that they were growing from their crops, they were screwed, right?
yeah. I mean,
So
it sounds good. Everyone's picturing, like, you know, uh, in fucking Gladiator when he says, "Oh, go home and tend to my crops." It's like, dude, it's not like that. Farming is
yeah,
hard work. Like I fucking farm a little bit in my backyard. I grow some peppers and cucumbers and shit, and even that takes work. I can imagine actually trying to survive on that. You know, like, especially here. Like it right now. No matter what you plant, it's burning up. So you basically gotta wait until after peak season to even start growing shit. So imagine, I mean, that's it. Always sounds horrible when you look at these giant chain stores, but we take that shit for granted sometimes.
hello.
I think his muscles broke the camera.
Once. Hello.
Yo,
Yo.
yo, yeah. I think his muscles broke the camera.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Say something.
Yeah, hear me?
I can hear you, but it's like low. Okay, now you're muted. Okay.
Technical difficulties.
Do you hear that? We're having vascular difficulties. God damn, look at that chin. Look at that. This is peak human. Some billionaire has fucking frozen this guy's genetic DNA. So that
I always said
he's what Universal Soldier was based off of.
I always said if I ever have the ability and the technology ever happens where I would make a lot of money where people would allow me to take their bodies so I could just put them into shape in 6 months and then just give them their...
That's the most humble bragging thing I've ever heard.
Well, with a payment, of course, but yeah.
I wish people would pay me so that I can go into your useless fat body and turn you into something useful.
Make you stronger, better.
And then you'll always claim, it's like, yeah, no, I do this for you.
Yeah, basically. It's like, look, I helped you. But it was all from you anyways, because it was your body. I
can picture his political campaign. I promise that this year you will not see one fat person on my beach. I mean your beach. Our beach. This year we will be cellulite free and you will love it. Vote for me.
Even so, you know, it's funny because I always tell people, I'm like, you don't have to be like in the best shape as long as you're working out 3 days a week and eating like 50% less of nutritionally what you're doing now. That's okay.
Isn't it fucking crazy how people don't even do that? Like, you know how many people I've literally told, they're like, I've lost weight, but like my flabby arms, like, dude, push-ups.
Yeah.
Men and women. It's like, dude, I can't do push-ups. Yeah, okay, but you gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, you start off small.
Fuck, man. Like, people will do anything not to do any physical exercise, and it's fucking crazy.
The amount of people, they'll basically try and like, they'll look for like certain supplements, or they'll look into like certain fat pills, or they'll look into certain electromagnetic suits that don't even do anything for you except for the actual workout themselves, right? Until they've realized, okay, shit, I actually have to do this.
I remember one time I was listening to Joe Rogan's show, and I forgot who was the guy. I think it was Eddie Bravo and somebody else. And then they were talking about what if they had like a big dick machine at the gym, and it's like you work this thing out, and then like fucking, you know, the more you work out, the bigger your dick gets. And then Joe Rogan was like, well, there'd be a fucking line wrapped up around the gym for that. And then I think it was Eddie Bravo. He's like, well, would there be? He's like, if it requires physical exertion, he's like, probably not. He's like, probably not as many people as you think. And he's like, especially if it's actually like, you know, it takes a lot of work and a lot of physical exercise. And he's like, you know what? That's a good point. And
yeah, that is a good point, actually.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, because it's just like you think you'd probably have like an influx of guys doing that for like the first 6 months, and then after that you start to see like just go downhill because they realize how much work is involved.
Yeah, like all the black guys would watch all the Asian guys just do the machine and no one else.
Yeah, no, I can see what he's saying, 100%.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, no matter what, like even some people, god damn, like some people I know that like complain about like heartburn and shit. And it's like, dude, do some exercise, or it's like you know I see what you're eating every day, and then, you know, I'm no health expert, but, you know, if you're feeling that way, maybe change something. God damn, but like,
that's the basic knowledge of it. It comes down to your nutrition. You got to switch up your eating.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know anything. Like, fuck, man, we're so lazy. Like, I get the body is designed to consume and be comfortable, but at the same time, like, you know, like, what does it take to fucking walk 15 minutes a day? What does it take to, like, literally just get down and do 2 push-ups until you hit 10 a day? It's getting down and doing 2 in a 24-hour span. And people will not do that. Like, it's
yeah,
insane.
It's just you gotta build, like, even for people like that, I tell them, like, you have to, even aside from doing that, you gotta just get good at being consistent at stuff. Because if you're not even doing that in anything else in your life, you're not gonna do it with this.
Yeah.
The mindset aspect is always the most important, but you got to build yourself a consistent routine. You just don't even think about it. You're just going to do it. You're going to stick to it.
Yeah,
and that's it.
it's
Keep
basically a
building from
lifestyle
there.
change.
It is. That's what I tell people when I start working with them. I'm like, your nutrition, your physical aspect of your body mechanics and how you perform stuff, and the education behind it, and also the mindset aspect. That's what I'm going to transform, and that's what we're going to work on. It's not one won't work without the other, and it shouldn't work without the other.
Well, a big myth that a lot of people want to know is, does soy give you man boobs?
No, no, it's fine.
I've heard this one.
I don't know.
So
I don't know
often.
why this one is like, oh my god, like.
Yeah,
So,
I've
I don't
heard
know
this
why
one
it's
so
a thing.
fucking much. It's like, stay away from soy.
It's fine. There's been studies that go back and forth saying it's bad for you. It does this for you. It gives you more estrogen. It doesn't help with testosterone, or it gives you just like it's just ridiculous. It's fine. No, it doesn't give you man titties.
So
The only thing that's gonna give you
soy.
man boobs if you eat too much, basically overconsumption of calories.
Well, there's certain things like chickpeas that have like higher amounts of estrogen, but I mean that's like,
But
does
that's
that
so
play a
many
factor?
foods. What's that?
Does that like play a factor? Let's say if you were to eat like hummus every
You have
day.
to, like, the amount of chickpeas that you would have to eat, okay, in order for your estrogen to increase to a level of that happening isn't even possible for somebody to do, because they would get sick and start yakking from how much they're eating. Put it that way. Like, it's such a minuscule amount. It's like the same thing with raspberry ketones. When Dr. Oz was promoting raspberry ketones and they were selling it in all the supplement industry stores and saying it loses weight, the amount of and raspberry ketone is still and what was and is still one of the main key ingredients in fat loss products, and it's still bullshit. And the amount of raspberry ketones that you have to eat in order to lose weight is like astronomical. It's impossible. And that's provided you're in a caloric deficit, you're working out, and you're watching your health in all those aspects. And even if you are, why would you need the raspberry ketones for any weight loss product? It's pointless to have anyways. But my point being is just it's impossible. The amount that you would have to eat, you'd get sick from even getting near that.
Okay. All right, that's a good one. So that's a myth. Soy does not give you man boobs. Your fat ass gives you man boobs.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. So another big one is there's a lot of myths and facts around creatine. Now I've heard that creatine is good for you. I've heard that creatine is dangerous. Like what can you tell us about it?
It's not dangerous for you by any means. The only thing is there's been studies about it saying that it does work and it doesn't work. And then there was also, I can't quote you on which university, it might have been Pennsylvania, but I'm not too sure off the top of my head. But basically they found that it doesn't always work the same or even work as well depending on the individual, right? So what creatine does is it flushes more water into your muscles through the cells that are in your that's in your fascia and your fibers, right? In your muscle. So it's giving you more water, it's supplementing and hydrating your muscles more, which in turn will allow you to push a little bit more. But when people hear that, they think that they're going to be able to push so much more weight and reps right away, and it's not how it works. Think about it like this, where if you start taking creatine, let's say you work out 3 times a week, just in a general statement, okay? You take creatine before you work out, and then you take it after you work out. 5 grams is typically enough for the common individual. After like a month and maybe more of taking it, you will probably start to see some sort of strength increase, right? And again, that differs per person. It might be less, it might take longer. Generally, it probably will take longer per person. But just on a general statement, you'll probably start to see some strength increase. But it'll be in the sense of like you maybe being able to do a few more reps, or you might have an extra 15 minutes of energy to burn during your weight session, right? That's more or less what it'll help do for you. And because of you being able to press more weight over time of doing it, an accumulation of strength will happen over like months at a time. So it's not something that you can just take and get off. You have to continuously take it and be regimented with it as well. And that's if it does help. I think it does personally. I take it, taken it many times. And I feel as though, and I've taken it enough times to know over the past 15 years that after about 2 months or less or so, I feel stronger, I feel better, I have a bit more energy. It's nothing like you turning into a friggin' Super Saiyan or anything like that, but you become just all around better equipped and have more energy when you're working out. So it is a nice little bit of a boost when you're doing it. But you still have to go there. You still have to do the repetition. You still have to do the work. You still have to put all that factor in.
I mean, I found that too when I was taking it. Like, I found the energy increased. Like, I found it, it basically did what caffeine used to do. You know what I mean? So it gave me a good amount of energy, enough to burn off at the gym, and then after, you're exerted. But I felt like it was a difference, taking that versus not taking it. Like, even with recovery, I found, I don't know if that was something, like, if it does that, but I found, like, it helped me with a speedier recovery versus if I didn't take it.
It can help with hydrating the muscles after. I take it after as well, so it can help with more hydration with the muscles. So your body actually produces it within its kidneys and even certain parts of your brain already, right? And then they found, like, with certain studies, that it does actually help flush more water and actually hydrate the muscles more, which in turn, if you use it properly, like I was saying, you will consistently, if you work out properly, you will build more strength over time of doing it, right? But as for side effects, not that I've seen in any study, and to my knowledge personally, I haven't had any. I haven't seen any in any study. Maybe there are out there certain studies that they've done that they found, but I would say it's pretty safe to take, and there's nothing wrong with it. I believe it was also through the study, or through the University of Pennsylvania, they did a study with football players and found that football players that took creatine were recovering faster from concussions. So
really?
they were basically giving more, I think it was 2 or 3 times the amount that they were supposed to be taking per body weight of the formula that they were doing. That was allowing them to recover. So the neurons and the tissues in their brain were repairing a lot faster than if they hadn't taken the creatine.
It's always football players who are like the first ones to, like, it's like research.
They get damaged the most.
Not just fucking water, but put some Gatorade and shit in that. Like,
they get damaged the most. Football players are the reasons why Gatorade was even invented in the first place, because they were falling on because water was.
Fuck, when they pour the Gatorade on the coach at the end, that could have saved somebody's life, but.
Yeah, probably.
Fuck.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's Gatorade
symbolic.
Was actually a pretty cool discovery. Yeah.
It's symbolic of all those who fell to the game.
Beforehand.
Yes, coach, hydrate. You've done a good job.
You take this, and then they're like, oh my god, and then they're all sticky as fucking hell after.
All right, after the hug and shit, and they're all like, ugh.
Yeah.
All right, so I mean, the creatine's not bad for you, basically. I mean, moderately, of course, but.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay, and let's see, 2 more questions I got for you. 1, what is a woman? No, I'm joking. What is the anabolic window? Because I know a lot of people can get annoying with that shit, and this is kind of the reason why I started working out alone, because some people would bitch. It's like after workout, oh my god, I have my anabolic window.
So the anabolic window is there's some truth to it, but it's more of a myth. So here's the thing with that. Your body at some point is going to want and need recovery from nutrients, whether they be macro or micro, that you're going to be getting through your eating, right? But if you have, just as an example, a good full meal, let's say an hour before you work out, for the average person and how hard they push, if they go and do an hour's worth of workout, that meal is still supplementing their body's worth of recovery that they would need from that workout, if that makes sense. So they're still feeding off of the micronutrients and macronutrients, right? Now, the other side to the coin of that is that, again, everybody's different. Not everybody's going to need the same amount. There's different body mass, different weight of people, different amounts of muscle on an individual, genetically speaking, what they would take in and whatnot. So for for athletes that actually push themselves a lot more and really get into like the gritted part of working out, they do need that. For the average person, I would still say to take something, although they don't need to have a shit ton of calories and overdo it, because they're generally just putting on extra fat and taking more than they actually need. Literally a scoop of protein with some EAAs or BCAAs is fine. And basically just having that after your workout is more than enough, if anything. You might even still be feeding off of food that you've had before you work out, depending on the person and what they eat, because everybody differs, right?
So you're speaking
post workout, yes.
Okay.
But for the most part, like, you're not going to lose muscle if you don't have it within 15 minutes. You know, you're not going to have a catabolic breakdown of all the tissues you've just built. That's all bullshit.
You know who you are, and you're watching this, so fucking listen to the experts.
It's just it's good to have. So like I said, I still have something after I work out nonetheless. I push myself very hard though, regardless, right?
Yeah.
But needless to say, for the average person who pushes himself
I've worked out with you. I know
a medium
push, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna need some recovery after. But even then, because I have something about 40 minutes before, so around that time and how much I push and how long I work out, I'm gonna need it. But back to what I was saying, for the average person, you can have it just in case, because it's very hard. You can't really measure if you're going to need it or not nonetheless, but generally you won't need it. But you don't need to feel like you're going to lose all the work and recover, or lose all the muscle that you've had. If you don't, you'll be fine. You know what I mean? If you don't have, if you don't have anything 2 days in a row after you've worked out, or a week straight, you have the rest of the day where your body is still feeding you nutrients and macronutrients from your eating, or from your meals that you've been eating. So you'll be okay. So in turn, it's more of a myth. Yes.
So it's not an actual window, is what you're saying?
No.
Okay.
It's not.
All right.
Not.
All right. Okay, so we got one more, and this one is another pretty straightforward one, but I don't know why people still think this. Does fat turn into muscle?
No, it doesn't exactly work that way. Fat doesn't turn or being used.
It doesn't transform into muscle.
Doesn't transform into muscle. No.
There you go.
So fat and muscle work very differently, actually. So fat, like I said, whether you have your carbs, whether you have your fats, any types of fats, or your proteins, eventually, once the nutrients within those macros are used up in your body takes from them what it needs and stores it and uses it throughout your body to keep it functioning. It stores it as fat. Okay, all of it gets stored as fat, regardless of what it is. It doesn't matter. Some is going to be higher calorie dense, some is going to be lower calorie dense, right? But it's going to be stored as fat. And then through movement of how long you move for and how intense you move is going to depict on how much weight you lose, right? And even if, let's say, just as an example, to give somebody who's watching this an example, if me and you were to do the same cardio, okay? Me and you were to do the same intensity and for the same length and everything, you might burn more than me, or I might burn more than you, because that's going to depict on how well your body breaks down, catabolically breaks down fat, and how well it's good and how good it is at breaking down fat tissue cells. Okay, and that comes through how long you've been working out, how hard you push yourself, your nutrition factor as well, and your genetics. So there's multiple factors. Everybody, it works the same for everybody. How much somebody will break down depends on the individual. Okay,
so the process is the same, but it differs from person to person.
It can differ from person to person. And that's why if you have people who are trying to lose weight together, somebody, even if they do the exact same thing, somebody might lose more than the other. It might not always be the same, right? Wow. And it generally isn't. And in regards to muscle, how you actually build muscle is actually through the pressure and momentum of the exercise and how you perform it, right? So if I'm doing a bicep curl, right, and I'm just doing a tempo, and your tempo is your speed, and I'm doing 1 second up and down, very fast, very easy, you're eventually going to build a lot of tension in there, right? And when you create tension, your fibers, just pretend these are the fibers that are locked, the Golgi matter, they break like this, right? And then eventually they recover through your testosterone, through your sleep, which builds testosterone among other things, and then also through the protein that you take, right? And then over time, if you're repeatedly doing that, regardless of how often, whether it's a lot or little, it will eventually build muscle. But it stems from how you perform the exercise, right? So now let's say I perform that same bicep exercise, the same body mechanic method, but my form is better. I go slower within the first few reps, create a lot more tension. And then I really just try and strenuously pump out as much weight as I can. And then I also add more weight to that as well. I'm going to create more tension. And if I do that more repeatedly than you, chances are I'm going to build more muscle. Now, again, there's genetics factor. There's also how often you work out. There's how good your technique is. There's nutrition. There's blah, blah, blah. A lot of different factors. But on a general consensus, when you add more tension, you will create more muscle tissue tearing. Okay. And then you need to supplement that with calories, especially with protein and carbohydrates to sustain the growth and always keep it growing. And then every 2 to 3 months, you increase the weight and the tension through different forms of what I just said, and you will continuously grow muscle. That's how you actually build muscle.
Avoid plateauing. And
exactly.
Okay.
Progressive overload.
Yeah.
Progressive overload. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's how you actually build muscle. So fat never turns into muscle. Never happens.
Okay. I got one more thing. I actually personally want to ask this, and as someone who knows how hard it is to actually put on muscle mass on the body, I have some girls asking me because they say it's like, they avoid weights almost entirely because they're scared they're gonna bulk up.
No, don't. And lift heavy. Don't avoid it.
There you go.
You're not gonna.
Now,
the amount of time and effort it takes for you to be able to like get bulky and big is, first of all, it takes like years. Number one. Number two, you have to look at somebody's genetics, right? Just because you see somebody else who's big and bulky does not mean you're going to look like that or become that way, right? Lifting heavy does not always necessarily translate to getting big. That comes down to your nutrition and how many calories you eat while you supplement it with. If you retain your calories to a certain spectrum of whatever you're trying to do with your weight training. So for example, if you're lifting heavy and some girl is eating like 1,700 calories, but she's keeping it there and her macros are more fixed towards protein and carbs versus fats, right? She's going to be sustaining that muscle growth. She's going to get stronger. She's going to actually build more lean tissue, right? Well, a little bit of mass build, 100%. It's going to happen regardless, but you're not going to get huge or drastically big or grossly big. It's not going to happen. No.
Yeah, like
you should be lifting heavy.
Someone who knows how hard it is to actually add muscle on the body, it takes, like you said, it takes years and years. Otherwise, if it was that easy, every guy would literally just be walking around as like behemoths, but it doesn't work like that. So so what you're saying
don't be afraid of lifting heavy. No, you should be lifting heavy because if you want to actually build muscle and density and actually increase strength, you should be lifting heavy, and don't do it because you think you're going to get big. It's not going to happen. And then there's a whole myth of like, if people lift heavy or lift weights, they start getting bigger, or they start to think like they're getting more rounder or thicker. It's just because of the fact of the amount of blood that's rushing to your muscle. That's all it is, right? It's a normal reaction.
The amount of what?
That happens. The amount of blood that's rushed into your muscle. Yeah. So that's a normal reaction that happens all the time. But you're not, starting to get bigger because of the muscle. Muscle and fat, it's a pound for a pound. That's all it comes down to. Except fat is generally bigger and muscle is a lot more dense. Okay, so that's why it's generally smaller. Okay. But I wouldn't stay away from. Don't be afraid to look at it.
There you go. All right, so we've answered all the questions that people have had and the ones that I've had as well. Thank you again, Mr. Steve Rogers, Captain America, for joining us. And
thanks for having me.
No problem, man. Always a pleasure. And we got something special here, so I'm gonna send you the link for a couple gym fails. Maybe we'll get through like 5 minutes of it, but I kind of want to review these with you and see what you think. So let's go through these together. So we'll open it up. You let me know when it starts playing for you. Let's see here.
I'm already afraid to look at.
So just let me know, and we'll start at the same time. We'll get through about maybe 3 minutes of this or so. Are you good? What? We lost him. We lost him, guys. Your meeting will end in 10 minutes. But we still can't hear you. We're losing
Hello?
him. Yeah.
How about now?
Okay. Audio, no video. Okay, audio and video. We're good. Say something. Can you hear me? Man, the gym fills were so bad. Our whole Zoom meeting filled. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me? All right, we're losing him. We're losing him.
Can you hear?
You barely.
Oh, no.
Barely. Muscles too big. Barely. Okay, well, kind of like barely. Whatever. We'll do that later. If you want, we'll just say something. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You can hear me? You can't hear me? The fuck? You good? Connecting audio. You good?
How's that?
Yeah, that's
Hello?
good. That's good.
Okay.
Okay, we'll do that separately, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so thanks for answering all of our fucking questions, as annoying as they were to you, because we all saw your face. But no, thanks for being on the show, man. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, and doing this has been a blast. But before you go, just tell us anything you got going on. If you got any more books for us to look forward to, any side hustles, any whatnot, just let us all know.
Honestly, just my online work at just basically AtoZBodyFitness.com, and then I have my book coming out. Hopefully, it's going to be released by like the end of this year. The second part to my Elitesium sci-fi novel.
This is a great book, by the way.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's pretty good. It took me a while to. This one halfway
Never
through.
would have thought. The classes in high school that we had together, who would have thought this guy could write a book? But he did it. He showed us.
Yeah, and then a lot of people thought I was you. It's like you English, like yeah, me.
Yes,
but that's pretty much it. Other than that, though, it's just those two things I've been working on pretty furiously right now, especially with the amount of clients I have going on, and just continuously trying to put out good content.
That's good, man. That's good. It's always nice to see that people too, like doing their thing and making them happy, and seeing that they're making a living off of it. It's good, man.
Yeah, that's the idea. That's the way to do it.
Yeah. Muscle specimen. Look at them. Save those genetics.
Yeah.
Get yours now at AtoZFitness.com. You too could aspire to fucking look like this.
Maybe that'll happen in like 30 to 40 years.
Dude, that should be a business. You should sell your fucking genetics.
No, not mine. I meant like sell good genetics in general.
Yeah, yours. Your fucking Superman genes. Don't deprive the world of what it needs. In our time of need, when we're on the brink of global disasters, we need universal soldiers to rely on. We need your genetics, Adam. Don't deny
We
the
need more
world
Van Dams.
in its time of need. Sad.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Dial.
Well, it was great having you on the show. Thanks for doing this
Thanks,
again.
man.
And like I said, it's always a pleasure just to talk to you. Really great guy. Hit him up. We'll have his links to everything down below. And thank you all for joining us. And thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. We'll catch up later, yo. Later, yo. Peace out, guys.